Do like this, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live from Aussie Education and Migration. My name is Satya Shukla, the owner and the director of Aussie Education and Migration, as well as the registered migration agent. So, as all of you know, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, we bring you the latest news, updates, policy changes, and the trend what is happening with migration industry within Australia. Today, we are going to cover again 491 visa. Now, few of you have asked me in the past that why we are concentrating so much on the 491 visa, why not something else, and why this 491 visa is so important in current scenario of COVID pandemic. So it's not that we are forcing, pushing, or promoting a 491 visa. As a migration agency, as a migration agent, okay, as a business, for us, each and every visa subclass matters. We do student visa, we do 189, 190, 491, partner visa, refugee visa, parents visa, business investment visa. So whatever visa under the sun you can talk, like, we got some experts who might be indulged, who might be doing that visa subclasses. But 491 is a specific push from our company in line with push from Austrian government, because if you look into the trend in last year and a half, Austrian government would like to develop regional Australia more and more. So during this pandemic also, there is always a push for this 491 regional visa. So let's start first to understand what is 491 visa. How does we go about that one, and what exactly the story behind that one. So when it comes to the 491 visa, okay, basically anywhere outside Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, okay, is defined as a regional area. So 491 visa can be eligible for anywhere outside Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. In going through this 491 visa process, there has been a lot of question that, hey, I live in Sydney, uh, what will happen if I move to Gosford? Is it a regional area? The answer is yes. So if you talk about New South Wales, Newcastle, Wollongong, Gosford, Richmond, Windsor, Blue Mountain, they all fall as under the regional areas. Some of them are hardly an hour 20 minutes away from main Sydney metropolitan area. So when we talk about a regional area, or like regional centers, uh, don't think that you need to go 5, 6, 7 hours away from Sydney. So when it comes down to 491 visa, okay, this visa is basically a 5-year visa. You get a 5-year visa. Out of these 5 years, you need to satisfy certain criteria, okay, which is living and working in regional area for 3 years, earning a minimum threshold salary, which is 53,900 at this moment every year. And this salary can be from one job or from 10 different jobs. And once you satisfy this criteria, you get eligible to apply for a PR visa, which is 191. That will start from 16th of November 2022. So to have this 491 visa, you need to have the positive skill assessment. You should be under 45 years of age. Now, there is some catch when people talk about 45 years of age, because to able to apply for 491 visa, initially you will put your interest into skill select system, which is called as a expression of interest, EOI lodgement. So when you lodge a EOI, so that time, let's say you are 44 years of age, and if you get a nomination at 44 years and 11 months and 28 days, still it's valid. So you should be less than 45 years of age at time of invitation. Once you get an invitation, once you lost the visa, and then even if you turn 45, no problem at all. So that's a technicality which you need to understand. You need to be less than 45 years of age at time of invitation. Once you lose your visa, even if you turn 45, no problem at all. You need to have a competent English, which means 6 each. So these are the general criteria for 491 visa. That's why we keep asking the question, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because as and when 491 will open for 2020, 2021, calendar year for everyone. You should be ready with your skill assessment. You should have English, and then you need to satisfy different criterias for different states, whether it's about living there, whether it's about working there, or living and working both. So that's what we'll discuss now, that in detail about each and every state. So let's say we start with New South Wales. So the government has provided a limited number of nomination for New South Wales state at this moment, even though they have not opened fully. At this moment, New South Wales is not accepting any new application. It is expected to open towards end of November or early December, but no one can say when that will be. So currently, this limited number of seats are getting fulfilled in the occupation of health, ICT, engineering, which is like a COVID related occupation, you can say, which is in demand in terms of COVID pandemic. Okay, and this at this moment, New South is looking into only about their residency criteria to be fulfilled when you're talking about 491. In the past, New South Wales wanted you to live and work both in regional area before you get eligible for 491 visa. But at this moment, it's only about your residential commitment to regional New South Wales. This might change, this will change, no one knows about that one. But if you're in the process of relocating to regional area, then do that one. That will always help you out for sure. So you need to understand the criteria for general New South 491 will change once the program reopens for everyone. At this moment, it's only about residency eligibility criteria for New South Regional, which will change for sure in the coming future. At this moment, New South Wales is not accepting any new application. Now let's go to Queensland. Everybody is accepting that Queensland will be the new hub when the visas will open for 2020-2021 calendar year, because compared to any other state, Queensland has been very strict when it comes to the border opening, when it comes to looking into corona pandemic, when it comes to handling the corona pandemic as such. So when you are in Queensland, you have to have your occupation into QSOL list. Okay, that means working in Queensland list. You need to provide the evidence that you are living and working in regional Queensland in your nominated occupation for past 3 months immediately prior to lodgement of your EOI. This might change to 6 months or 12 months. We don't know at this moment. As per the interim allocation, what happened few months back, the good news is Queensland has given a hint that they would like to have the evidence of ongoing employment with the employer which is registered in Queensland. Okay, and you have to have that ongoing employment for 12 months. So for the 491, it must be an ongoing employment into regional Queensland for 12 minimum period of 12 months and minimum 35 hours per week. This is very similar to what it used to be in Victoria before. That if you got a job offer letter from an employer who is trading in regional area, they can give you an employment opportunity for next 12 months for minimum 35 hours per week. Then you are welcome as a part of 491 invitation. Once you get a 491 invitation, whether it's a Queensland or whether it's anywhere else, normally they do expect from you to live and work in that area for 3 years. As per the provision of 491 visa, once you get granted 491 visa, you can have the movement anywhere within the regional Australia. That means you let's say you got a 491 visa from Queensland. Due to some XYZ reason, you want to relocate to Gosford in New South Wales, yes, you can do that one. But at this moment, as a part of Queensland eligibility criteria, the Queensland would like you to commit to living and working in Queensland for 3 years. But there is no such bounding or restriction or provision that you must do that one. That's not the criteria. So you need to understand that one. As a part of 491, your movement in any designated regional area is allowed. So good news for the Queensland is that as per the given hint at this moment, they might need a job offer later, offer a job for next 12 months for minimum 35 hours a week. That will make you eligible for 491. Let's move to Victoria. Victoria has been one of the most preferred destination for 491 till 24th or 25th of May 2020. And since then things have changed. So yes, you must have a competent level of English, which is 6 each. You must have lived and worked in regional Victoria for minimum 6 months at this moment, as per the interim requirement. This requirement might change to 12 months, or it might not be there at all, just like before. And at this moment, because is the interim allocation is getting allocated to health, medical and other profession which is closely related with COVID-19, you must be currently employed in regional Victoria in a highly skilled occupation in health or medical research, which supports Victoria's economical recovery and health response towards COVID. So you need to have a job offer letter or job, okay, from a business which must be active and operating for at least 2 years and located into regional Victoria. Skill assessment is must for 491, okay, and you and your spouse both must demonstrate that you are committed to living, working or studying, if somebody wants to study, in designated regional area of Victoria for the length of the visa period. So at this moment, due to the COVID response from the Victorian government, okay, there is a limit of 6 months living in Victoria and working into highly skilled occupation in health and medical. That will change, that might change. We don't know at this moment. Or it can go back to the normal what used to be before, that you need a job offer letter from a business which is operating into designated regional area in Victoria. So that comes to the Victoria. So when we move ahead, then when you move ahead with that one, okay, we go to the one of the most complex one, which is Northern Territory. Northern Territory, like small place, high possibility of 491 visa or even 190 visa, but lot of ifs and buts. So you need to understand very properly how does that flow. So when it comes to 491, competent English, six each in each band, and the positive skill assessment. That's a default. Doesn't matter which state you'd like to go for. Doesn't matter whether you are onshore or offshore. Positive skill assessment and 6 each in English is needed for the visa purpose. From the point from the point perspective, you need 7 each or 8 each in English, which will give you extra 10 points or 20 points. Now from the Northern Territory 491 eligibility, if you are in Australia, okay, you or any of your dependent should be should be currently living in Northern Territory. That means you or any of your migrant dependents, they are currently living in interstate or any other part of, like, let's say they are not NT, they are living in Victoria, you will not be eligible for NT. Okay, if you are currently on a student visa or you are currently studying in Northern Territory, you will not be eligible for 491 in nomination. So you need to understand that. Lot of people in the market, lot of, like, uh, non-registered migration agents, they are advising client to go and study in Northern Territory and apply for 491 visa now. They will not be eligible to be able to get an invitation of 491, because the policy says very straight away from Northern Territory department, if you or any of your migrating dependents are currently on a student visa or are currently studying in a Northern Territory institutions, you will not be eligible for a Northern Territory nomination. Of course, if you have already been nominated for a previous 489 or 491 visa for Northern Territory, okay, you will not be eligible for 190 nomination. So as a part of the 491 visa itself, if you have lost the 491 visa, then for next 3 years, you are not eligible to apply for 189 and 190. So you need to understand that you should be living in Northern Territory. There has to be a commitment for NT, and you should, your occupation should be a skilled occupation list uh, to be eligible for a Northern Territory invitation, which is called as NT-MOL list. So if you go through the Northern Territory migration occupation list, at this moment there are about 300 odd occupation lists which are listed there. So you can see whether your occupation is there or not, and then only decide, like, about your future step towards destination NT. Just don't closely, go there and think that something will come up. You should be provide a strong evidence of your employment prospect in Northern Territory, either in your occupation list or closely related occupation list. So you can have a job offer letter from an employer which is in Northern Territory, okay, or you can show that your employment is badly needed for Northern Territory, okay, or your employment has been advertised on multiple times in Northern Territory, but there is a lack of that one. All these things need to be put in a proper evidence towards like either your occupation or correlated occupation in order to get towards a possible nomination from Northern Territory under 491 visa. Now what will happen if somebody is not here, if they are offshore, then whether the Northern Territory is open for them or not. Okay, yes, Northern Territory welcomes people from offshore, but there are certain criterias. Positive skill assessment and 6 each in English. We are not talking about that one. That's default. If you're offshore, if you're not in Australia, you must be employed in your nominated occupation for at least 12 months in last 2 years or have a relevant qualification. You, if you're offshore, okay, then offshore applicant must have an offer of full-time relevant employment in Northern Territory from the anti-migration occupation list. That means there is a business which is in Northern Territory which is operating there, and your occupation is in Northern Territory migration occupation list, and you got a job offer letter from an employer who is in Northern Territory, then you are more than welcome. And then you need to show the financial capacity matrix also. You need to fulfill that one also. What that means is if an individual applicant is a minimum 35,000 AUD at this moment. If there is applicant with spouse, then 50,000. If there is one child, then 10,000 extra, which is 60,000 AUD. And if there is one more child, then extra 5,000. That goes to 65,000 AUD. So you need to satisfy the requirement for a financial capacity matrix also when it comes to Northern Territory. Other places doesn't have such a financial capacity matrix, but Northern Territory does have that one for the offshore applicant. Now let's go to Tasmania. Tasmania used to be one of the hot cake for Indian, Nepalese, Pakistani and Bangladeshis applicant in last 2 years, because everyone normally they used to think that hey, pack up your bags from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane or any other part of Australia, go to Tasmania, you'll get a PR, because there seems to be a printer which was located somewhere in Hobart which was printing a PR letter for all the applicant. But unfortunately, things got changed. People went there with half knowledge or no knowledge, only depending on some adverse information which being provided by lot of XYZ registered or non-registered agents, and now they ended up in no man's land. So try to understand the criteria for each and every state before you move to that state, or before you think of going to that state for 190 or 491 visa. So since 20th of March 2020, okay, the offshore applications has been restricted for Tasmania at the moment. So you need to understand that offshore application have been temporarily restricted until further notice to the TSO list for Tasmania. Now, if you are into health, trades and construction, engineering, community services, including the aged and disability care, and also some sort of agriculture, okay, and you are living outside of Greater Hobart, then there is chance for 491 nomination, chances for 491 nomination at this moment for you. This will change later on, but we don't know at this moment how the changes will be and what will be the criteria toward the occupation, because the list can change. So you should have the occupation in the list of eligible skilled occupation list. A positive skill assessment is must. 6 each in English is must. Now, when you go for the 491 category for Tasmania, there are 5 different categories. Number one, if you have studied from Tasmania, so that's called a Tasmanian graduate. You must have completed and graduated from a CRICO registered tertiary institution in Tasmania. What that means is, okay, that you are an international student who has done your studies from a CRICO registered education provider. The course must be a degree, bachelor, any higher degree, a diploma, standard, advanced, associate, or a graduate diploma, or a trade qualification, minimum certificate 3 level for a skilled occupation in major group 3 in ENSGO group. Please Google that major group 3 when you come to, like, thinking of going for Tasmania. That's where the lot of problem happened in the past. Okay, your course should be of minimum 40 weeks or 1 academic year. It should be on a full-time basis. It should be on site in Tasmania. As you guys know that a lot of courses are online at this moment. So how that is going to be considered for 491 nomination if you're living in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, or anywhere else, that's a very debatable issue. But in practice, it should be full-time and on-site in Tasmania. You should be lived in state for at least 1 year during your period of study. Okay, you need to provide the genuine commitment to Tasmania as well as the evidence that you and or your dependent both are living in Tasmania from last 1 year. So that can be lease agreement, rent payment, bank statement, uh, any commitment which shows that you are living in Tasmania. Okay, if your study has been in area that is not related to an occupation into Tasmania skilled occupation list, you need to include in your occupation your career plan, that how exactly your studies have increased your ability to able to be more employed in Tasmania, that you will find a skilled work in Tasmania, because it's not in TSOL list. So the Tasmanian department has created a list as per the need in Tasmania, but your occupation is not there. So you need to have the career plan submitted, that okay, this is the way I will be more profitable, you will be more suited for Tasmania. Now let's move to category 2, which means you are working in Tasmania. So you must have been working in Tasmania for minimum 6 months immediately prior to your application for state nomination. You do not have to be working in a nominated occupation. Your employment should be 35 hours per week on one full-time job, okay, or two or more part-time job, and you are able to provide the evidence of employment claims. That means if we are working in one job or two different jobs, there are document checklist which, like, have your pays, bank statement, work reference letter, and other things to show that okay, you are genuinely employed by a employer in Tasmania. And then you need to fill a genuine ongoing skills shortage need in Tasmania. You or your dependent must be currently living in Tasmania, and again same thing, you can provide the evidence of genuine commitment to continue to live in Tasmania even if you get granted this 491 visa. So as we repeated again and again, as a part of 491 visa uh, criteria, you are not bound to live in one regional area. You can move to different regional areas, but different states, they need a commitment for you because they are giving a quota from their end to you to get nominated in that particular state. So they are looking for 3 year commitment. Then if you're working in Tasmania, your employer must have been well established business that has been actively operating in Tasmania for last 12 months. You cannot go with an employer who has just started their operation in Tasmania for the sake of 491 visa or for sake of some other benefits. So the business should be operating in Tasmania for last 12 months. There must be a genuine need for your position within that business. Okay, and the business cannot or does not include supermarket, service station, fuel station, limited service restaurant, okay, cook, chef or cafe or restaurant manager, okay, massage cleaning, taxi or Uber driving. These are not included. Imagine somebody is trying to sponsor you as a cook or chef uh, into a cafe which doesn't have any sitting or which have got a ready to eat foods, then you cannot justify your need for your position into that business because the food are mostly pre-cooked. Service station, you don't need a as such customer service manager or full-time manager to look after that one thing. There is no need for that one. So those are excluded from the list. So you need to understand where exactly you fit into that one. So it's very important, if you're working in Tasmania, understand the requirement from your employer as well requirement from your position need, how that your position fit into something else. Okay, let's move on to category 3, that is overseas applicant. At this moment, Your nominated occupation must be in a list of listed as a high demand in Tasmanian skilled occupation list. Other requirements will apply. There is no discussion on that one. Okay. Now when it comes to Tasmania or some other states also, if you have been to Australia before, you need to make sure that you or any of your dependent have not lived in another Australian state or territory within last 12 months. So let's say because of COVID, you left Australia this year March, you will be not able to, you are not eligible to apply for category 3A overseas applicant. You have achieved the English requirement specified on the TSO list for your nominated occupation, okay, in a recognized English language test, or you are holding a passport for a country which are exempted from the English test. And then there's other requirements, okay, which needs to be met as per the TSO list. Okay, you have us you have access to sufficient financial asset to fund your migration and settlement in Tasmania for last 6 months while you seek employment. So what Tasmania wants is, they are not looking for a job offer letter or a full-time employment for you straight away. Let's say you satisfy all other criteria for a high demand jobs in TSO list, then Tasmania Department wants to make sure that you got sufficient financial asset to able to support you for first 6 months when you land in Tasmania. That if you got that one, then no problem, welcome. Then there's another category for offshore applicant who do have the job offer letter from the business which are located in Tasmania. That means you have received a formal job offer letter for the job that is based in Tasmania in your nominated occupation. So if you got an employer who is in Tasmania, who is happy to offer you a job in your nominated occupation, a formal job offer letter in Tasmania, then you are more than welcome. Then again, but again, you or any of your dependent have not lived in any other Australian state or territory within last 12 months. Your employer should be well established business within Tasmania and should be operating in Tasmania for last 12 months. Again, there should be a genuine position need for your position within that business, and then you need to satisfy the criteria that whether this is the existing position, whether this is a new position. If it's a new position, why that new position has been created or come to the business. If it's in the existing position, how you are going to replace the existing staff. This replacement is not to save on the salary for the current staff. All these things has to be taken to the criteria position requirement to make sure that it's genuine and ongoing position, and you are required from the business to able to get you to Tasmania to run the business. So it's very important for you to understand that a business cannot suddenly out of blue want to nominate you. There should be a genuine position need for your your position in that business, and business should be established in Tasmania, operating in Tasmania for more than 12 months. So you need to understand, if you are offshore, how this business is going to work out for you. Then of course there is a category 4, which is family in Tasmania. Just one second guys, sorry for that. Okay, so when you move to category 4, family in Tasmania, that your family member, okay, has been an Australian permanent resident, Australian citizen for minimum 12 months prior to lodgement of your application. Okay, he or she is currently residing in Tasmania, okay, for 12 months. So they should be granted their own Australian permanent residency or citizenship 12 months before lodgement of your visa, and they should be living in Tasmania for last 12 months. Okay, they can be your parent, brother, sister, child, auntie, uncle, or grandparent. They agree to support and assist you in process of gaining an employment in Tasmania upon your arrival in Tasmania. Okay, uh, please do note, relationship by marriage such as sister or brother-in-law are not acceptable for this category. Okay, you must hold a direct relationship with your sponsoring family members. So by your parents, brother, sister, child, auntie, or grandparents. It cannot be uncle or auntie of your wife or your husband. That doesn't work. They should be granted a 12 their own Australian permanent or citizenship 12 months prior to lodgement of your visa, and should be living in Tasmania for last 12 months. Now there is of course one more category, which is a small business owner category. This is going to be one of the most maybe attractive category for overseas applicant. So please do understand this category very well. You need to demonstrate that you have established and operated your business in Tasmania for at least 6 months. So let's say you moved into Tasmania on any XYZ other visa. You have put your business there. You have started a business there. Okay, so and the business is solely owned by you, and you can demonstrate that you have established and operated your business in Tasmania for last 6 months. Okay, you can demonstrate that business which you have run in Tasmania is highly likely to give you an income which meets that minimum threshold salary of 53,900 per year for at least 3 years. Okay, then you will be eligible for subclass 191, and you need to provide a comprehensive business plan. It is not possible for you to just come buy a cafe and say that I'm going to earn $60,000. That's not going to happen. Okay, so there has to be enough research shown into the what you call your business plan. Understand the need for that business in Tasmania. What is your target market? uh, what relevant industry experience have you got? How you are going to run your business? Is there any licensing or registration which is required for your business in Tasmania? How that business is going to help the Tasmanian economy? What is the market opportunity, realistic market opportunity for your proposed business in Tasmania? Okay, whether that business will compete with other existing business of similar nature or same nature already established in Tasmania. If yes, how that will be different? Will that harm the current existing Tasmanian business? If so, why your business should be given an opportunity in Tasmania? Okay, your previous business ownership experience, your indulgence, your direct inclusion into previous business, and how this will going to benefit Tasmania in long term. So the whole idea of having a comprehensive business plan in Tasmania. Now let's move to Western Australia. When it comes to Western Australia, things does change a lot, but in there are two categories in Western Australia. One is general stream and one is for the students who go through a Western Australia graduate stream. So when you go to the general stream, Western Australia got their own list, which is called as the Western Australia Skilled Migration Occupation List. So if your occupation is in WASML list, Western Australia Skilled Migration Occupation List, okay, and you got minimum 1 year Australian work experience or 3 years overseas work experience in your nominated position or closely related position as your nominated position, or a full-time employment contract in Western Australia for a minimum of 12 months for your nominated occupation or correlated nominated occupation, then you are welcome towards a possible invitation for 491 visa for Western Australia. Again, you have to demonstrate that you got sufficient settlement fund, okay, if you are not currently living in Western Australia. Then you go to the graduate stream, that if you are studying or you have about to complete your studies from Western Australia. So your occupation should be in a graduate occupation list for Western Australia, GOL. Okay, graduate occupation list in Western Australia. You should be in a employment minimum 6 months paid Australian work experience in your nominative or closely related nomination occupation, or you got a full-time employment contract in Western Australia for minimum 6 months from a business which is established in Western Australia in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation. And again, if you're not in Western Australia and you are moving there but you have done your studies from there, your occupation is in graduate occupation skill list, then a sufficient settlement fund for your settlement in Western Australia. Please note, you must have a graduated minimum certificate 3 and above for minimum 2 years Australian study for this stream. So you need to understand that if you have done 1 year diploma, 1 year certificate 3 or 1 year certificate 4 course, you will not be eligible to go through this one. There are a lot of agents, again lot of people, lot of unregistered agents who are advising about going and doing a diploma course for 1 year from Perth and be eligible for 491. That's not going to happen. You must have a certificate 3 and above for 2 years. to satisfy that you study in Western Australia and able to have your occupation into graduate occupation list. So there are a lot of different criterias which are based on different states, guys. You need to understand that very well. You need to understand that towards the end of November and early December, the quota will open for 491 for each and every state. The general criteria of positive skill assessment, general criteria about 6 each in English is must. There is no compromise on that one. So if you are waiting for your chance to able to get a possible nomination or get eligible for nomination of 491 from New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, Northern Territory or Canberra, at least have your positive skill assessment done, get your English in line. Okay, let's start with let's start with putting a EOI to get a minimum 65 points, because everything will help only if you got all the basic requirements done. I have not discussed about Canberra here because we have explained about Canberra matrix in detail. Again, in very short, if anyone who is committed to live and work in Canberra for more than 12 months and their occupation list is in Canberra matrix, they will have a higher chance towards possible PR in the future, because Canberra matrix does work differently than the normal point matrix from the Department of Home Affairs. There's very high points for anyone and everyone who is committed to live, work and study in Canberra for more than 12 months. So do go and look into the Canberra matrix. If you are not sure what to do, what not to do, contact your nearest migration agent, contact our company, our organization in India, Nepal, Pakistan or Bangladesh. Our offices are eagerly waiting for your call or your WhatsApp message or message on Facebook or via email. So if you're in Australia, okay, call us on 0406 107 107. If you're in India, give a call to us on 9100 107 107. If you're in Nepal, give a call to Preeti and her team on 9851 107 107. If you cannot reach to us via direct call, feel free to call on WhatsApp on all those numbers, or you can send us a message through LinkedIn or through email on info@aussieeducation.com.au. We are here to help you. We are here to organize your skill assessment, organize all your documents, help you in organizing the documents. But it's very important, whenever 491 visa will open for each and every state, get ready with your positive skill assessment, get ready with your English score, get ready with your EOI, and give yourself every chance towards a positive outcome or positive possibility of 491 nomination. Don't sit and wait for the time to come. Time will never come. People are regretting, the one who lost opportunity for 491 visa for New South Wales towards the end of June. Opportunity will come. It might come for a small window or for whole year, who knows. But at least give yourself chance with all the ammunition, everything ready for yourself. Positive skill assessment, English, EOI, everything should be ready. You should know what is the criteria and eligibility for you to be able to get nomination from that particular state. Don't close your eyes. Don't just run from New South Wales to Tasmania, Tasmania to Northern Territory, Northern Territory to Victoria. Things are not going to happen like this. Decide about your future, assess your own application, understand the possibility of your nomination to different state, and then only move with your partner, with your kids, or by yourself. Don't just go anywhere and everywhere blindly. So give a call to our offices. We are waiting for you here. We are here to help you out. If you are in any doubt, contact us through Facebook, WhatsApp, phone calls, emails, LinkedIn. We are here to help you out in each and every way. And again, normally on Friday between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., we have free 15 minutes consultation with our migration team. Feel free to call on 0406 107 107 and book an appointment with our migration team. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely afternoon and be prepared well for the future. Good luck. Thank you.